was from my dance film, Awakening. I have chosen this to highlight a few of the points that dancers need to keep in mind during delivery of nritta or pure dance. One of the important alignments in dance is what I call the 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock hip alignment. 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock hip alignment. If the hip represented the face of a clock, this would be 3 o'clock and this would be 9 o'clock. Likewise, the shoulder also has a clock face. It has a 3 o'clock and a 9 o'clock. These alignments have to be centered in a number of different positions and movements in dance. For instance, in the very first movement, the points of the hip, the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock, have to always face forward, and so do the shoulders. Now, what are some of the issues with this? If the movement is pulling you to the right and you turn with the hip leaning forward, then the entire side is closing the movement. This might not be as obvious, but there might be a subtle degree of rotation of the hip and the shoulders that's making a dancer look smaller and closed in versus open and forming long lines. So, this movement again requires the hips to be centered. 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock facing forward at all times. Likewise, shoulders facing forward. So let me illustrate this with my students. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. So that movement that you just saw right now requires this shoulder to be open. The hips, again the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock, as open as possible, and the arm at the length of the arm in line with the shoulder at all times. This hand has to make a perfect point that divides and bisects the body along the midline. So each position needs to be adjusted so that there is an openness and an alignment that suits the dancer's frame. The next section starts with a diagonal line. Diagonal lines are a very important part of nritta, and in forming a diagonal line, it is important and imperative that the line extend from the very tip of one hand, traverse across the shoulder, and again move to the tips of the other hand. Now, this diagonal line, if I'm not careful with what's happening in my back, can take the following formation, where I've just let the back muscles lax. So I'm not holding the back muscles. So all the tension is just in my arms. So that can only deliver a certain amount of length. But as soon as I pull my shoulders back, my back is supporting this movement and the arms can lengthen more naturally along its axis. So any diagonal movement, it is important to use the back muscles to support the holding so that the elbows and the wrists form that perfect alignment. Have my students demonstrate this. Tap, keep, tap, tap, keep, tap. So in this movement, you have to notice how the back is. The back in this movement has to be straight. So put the legs down, Varsha. Okay. Can you step forward a little bit? Instead of leaning back, can you sit in Aramandi? Keep your hips 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock aligned and only lift the leg to the extent that you can without turning. That gives you a straight back. So anytime you lift your legs, please be sure to turn yourself and see what shape the back is making. If you find that you're overturning and leaning back with a curvature in the lower back, your shoulders are also going off alignment. Your chest is going off alignment. So only take the movement to the extent possible where your back can be maintained straight. Let us recap what we just learned. The hip and the shoulder have clock positions at 3 and 9, which help us orient our body depending on the movement. The arm should be extended at the level of the shoulder for best alignment. Positions depend on the dancer's body. Diagonal lines are held best when the back and the shoulder muscles are activated. While raising the leg, hold the back vertical. Continue watching the next episode on the Inner Circle with Savitha Sastry.